The Veg-Men's Revenge. Pictures by Florence K. Upton. Verses by Bertha Upton. Copyright 1897 by Longmans Green and Company, London, New York and Bombay. The Veg-Men's Revenge. Part First. Good day, pretty Poppy. We've met you at last, after watching and waiting for quite a week past. You're alone as we see, said Herr Carrot with glee, as he winked at his friend Don Tomato. If soup greens you want in that basket so neat, we can furnish the best you could ever wish to eat. And the secret you'll know, as to how we all grow, in our cool, pleasant underground world, oh. Now how nice that will be, replied Poppy with glee, and may I ride there in this coach which I see? Yes, we brought it for you, it would safely hold two, and these onions though young are all strong, oh. We don't care to ride, but we'll both run beside, for Tom has the whip hand, whatever betide. The horses are frisky, and driving is risky, so step in sweet Poppy and onward we'll glide, oh. In the cornfield they found a large hole in the ground, through which seemed to travel soft echoes of sound. And to Poppy's surprise, as she stared with both eyes, into this rolled the playful tomato. Herr Carrot smiled sweetly, and said, "Follow me." "Ah, but won't it be dark so that no one can see? If the sun doesn't shine, I shan't think it so fine, and I really half fear I might fall, oh." "Just give me your hand and I'll help you to stand, now, 1, 2, 3, off we go. Isn't it grand?" Through the tunnel they flew, the sensation was new, but poor Poppy could not say 'twas nice, oh. Perhaps she'd done wrong, would Mamma think her long? And supposing down there she should not hear the gong? It was seldom her fate, at the lunch to be late, she began to feel quite in a fright, oh. Dear Carrot, turn back, for I don't want to go, I'd rather return to the world that I know. They'll be looking for me, and you surely must see, that a girl cannot walk in the dark, oh. 'Twas useless to plead, his long legs had the lead, and our poor Poppy feared he had planned some dark deed. The air grew much warmer, they turned a sharp corner, and now she saw daylight and such a strange sight, oh. They paused for one moment before stepping out. Tomato blushed scarlet, he was very stout. He had rolled down so fast, Poppykin stood aghast, when she saw both their eyes looked quite fierce, oh. Herr Carrot spoke crossly, "Look here little one, we mean you to suffer for all you have done. To our king you must go, he awaits you below, we will soon take you into his court, oh." Part Second. Behold me, king of the Veg-Men's land. The earth is peopled with my useful band, without us you would starve, and maybe die, and yet you torture us without a sigh. In boiling fat, we've often sat, that you might eat French fry. Ofttimes in fiercest oven's raging heat, your cruel cooks our tender forms have thrust, and through our jackets' unprotecting film, we've felt ourselves resolving into dust. We're chopped for hash, and fixed for mash, to make potato crust. So now on you the tables we will turn, and see how you will like to boil or burn. What ho, my guards in modesty livery tight, go, plant this child and cultivate her right. I want to know, how mortals grow, 'twill be a novel sight. And then his royal arm he fiercely waved, while Poppy wondered if she might be saved, from such a fate as never had she dreamed. No hearts have they, the youthful victim screamed, but in her ear, came whisper clear, a kindly voice it seemed. "Gay little flower from mortal world above, I've got a heart, and you shall taste its love. Pray have no fear, but quietly submit, just laugh and jump into the soft, warm pit, 'tis not so deep, and once asleep, you'll better think of it." So, when her guards returned with yards of rope, one tied her round the waist, not tight I hope. To their surprise she never flinched a bit, but stepped out jauntily towards the pit. Her cabbage friend, sweet smile did lend, approving human grit. His back was turned, but on the other side, with spade and rake 2 guards looked on tongue-tied. For Poppy never winced, she stood quite still, nor feared the doing of King Murphy's will. "This curious bed, I'll try," she said, "this big round hole I'll fill. When you get underground," friend Cabbage said, "you'll fall asleep and dream that you're in bed. And by, feel conscious of small thrills, which every fiber of your being fills. Then slowly rise, to where blue skies, and warming sunshine growing power distills. I cannot tell just what you'll grow to be, but that is what our people want to see. You've changed my species into varied form, yet we have kept a heart both large and warm. If you prove fine, our king will dine on you in state, and now shake hands with me." Then on they march with ever-quickening pace, a curious crew, each one with smiling face. The 2 potato men wore caps of lustrous sheen, while carrot and tomato dressed in green. "My 4 in hand, looks really grand," quoth Poppy walking on with fearless mien. The hole is reached, it lies at Poppy's feet, she blows across to them some kisses sweet. "Goodbye, you stupid, blundering carrot root, and you, great red-faced old tomato fruit. I'll laugh at you, in French ragout, when you are cooked my taste to suit. I'm not afraid of you one single bit, though now you seem to have the best of it. Whoever heard, I ask you both again, of vegetables harming mortal men? Oh never fear, but you will hear, from me sometime, though now I can't say when." Her eyes close tight as Poppy makes the jump, and for one moment feels her heart go thump. Then reassured by what friend Cabbage said, she settles calmly just as though in bed. The hole they fill, with dexterous skill, and to King Murphy's throne the way is led. By a newcomer we've not met before, sweet sugar corn and yellow hair she wore, her dress of green set off each pearly charm. While lightly as the maiden took each arm, she touched the ground, with rustling sound, like zephyrs whispering through a hillside farm. She said, "I wish that Poppy could have stayed, to play with me, she was so fair a maid. But if she grows to something very sweet, no doubt but I shall find her good to eat. So rake the ground, and water round, and very carefully this seedling treat." Herr Carrot smacked his lips and smiled anew, while Dom Tomato's eyes much larger grew. They both looked forward to the royal feast, the coming fall, when Poppy would at least have taken root, and borne some fruit, but here their greedy speculations ceased. For they were ordered off to other work, which in King Murphy's realm they dared not shirk. And young Miss Corn went in to curl her locks, of finest hair that fell in silken shocks. While laughing light at Poppy's plight, this dainty maiden in her green bower rocks. What Poppy dreamed I've not had leave to tell, and Mother Earth can keep a secret well. It takes some time for little bulbs to sprout, and leaf and blossom till the secret's out. So let her lie, 'neath summer sky, we'll see her soon again I have no doubt. Now Mike and Dan had special orders got, to regularly take a watering pot, and sprinkle carefully the rich earth bed, that this new vegetable might be fed. While little Jake, with hoe and rake, would smooth the ground at pretty Poppy's head. And reaching there betimes one early morn, was first to see that 2 green leaves were born. His large, bright eyes were fixed upon the spot, when from Dan's water can a charge he got. Though Mike looked grave, he could not save his little friend from Daniel's harmless plot. He scampered off his little coat to dry, shouting the news to every passer-by. The baby onions gathered full of glee, and tall asparagus bent down to see the pretty sight. All felt delight, though cabbage friend looked sad-faced, you'll agree. Then big-faced, purple eggplant joined the throng, and with hair carrot and tomato gazed full long. For Jakey told each vegetable he met, about the wonderful new plant they'd set, whose leaves of green, his eyes had seen, whilst raking gently in the ground so wet. But now we'll hurry on to that bright day, when through all vegetable land so gay, the news had travelled from King Murphy's court, that poppy growths of every shape and sort, were to be found. The garden round. Her carrot to the spot his highness brought. Well pleased his royal majesty appeared. For in his secret heart he'd sometimes feared, his scheme would not succeed quite to his mind. But never had he dreamed that he should find results like this. 'Twas rapture, bliss. A problem solved to benefit his kind. His palate watered for each dainty dish, to hurry on the feast was now his wish. Into the field with spades his minions file, each wearing on his face a cheerful smile. Miss Corn culls peas, from vines like trees, the ripened crops display a tempting pile. Tomato rolls with joy upon the ground, kicking aloft the treasure he has found. Dan digs potatoes from the dry, loose earth, the uprooted bulbs fill Mike with endless mirth. Cabbage and corn are quickly torn, from stalk and sheath to which they owe their birth. Miss Corn, with merry laughter trips along, occasionally bursting into song. With pardonable pride Mike lifts a sack, you'd think was big enough to break his back. Upon the road, a barrow load of turnips spill along the sandy track. For Jake and Mike were in a playful mood, and wrestling without meaning to be rude. Their well-packed barrow got a mighty jerk, which made for both the youngsters double work. But I've heard say, all work, no play, will cause dark shadows in the mind to lurk. Straight to the royal kitchen they repair, the chef, amazed receives them with a stare. Such fine variety must tax his skill, his cookbook recipes scarce meet the bill. With thoughtful frown, he sits him down, intent with honor his great post to fill. Jake, Mike and Dan are set the peas to shell, and husk the corn, because they work so well. Such lovely color does the lettuce take, it quite attracts the admiring little Jake. With tints of blue, all bathed in dew, his eyes with wondering pleasure fairly ache. Into the second kitchen let us peep, one man is set the dusty floor to sweep. Two others talk beside the roaring grate, where boiling saucepans hiss in steaming state. For joints of meat, the oven's heat is fast preparing at a sizzling rate. Let things in order, perfectly be done, so said the chef, as, rising with the sun, he set his boys to polish every pot, and every tray and saucepan he had got. The bill of fare was very rare, success must be assured to him, if not. The king had vowed his office he'd bestow on someone else who did his business know. The cordon bleu of course he'd give to him, if he could gratify his latest whim. But otherwise, by all my eyes, I'll banish you to deepest dungeon dim. Thus swore his highness as he left the field, rejoicing greatly at the monster yield. And swift repairing to his castle grand, he summoned to his call a minstrel band. That sweetest sound might float around, and work a charm in vegetable land. An orchestra of wheat the prelude played, conductor wind its every movement swayed. From tenderest whisper into rush of sound, the rhythm breathed and trembled o'er the ground. The king's eyes close, he finds repose, but through his dreams the fairy strains are wound. Bright nodding harebells soon in chorus tinkle, the deeper note is held by periwinkle. And prima donna nature leads the air, which finer ears may drink in everywhere. So leave the king, while still they sing, and to the kitchen once again repair. In fierce array drawn up behold the cooks, concocting dishes never found in books. With tints of so remarkable a hue, the salad is a symphony in blue. The soup pale pink, but only think, whoever saw a black and crimson stew. Of business in that kitchen there's no lack, the sputtering frying pan makes Tam hold back. A tiny scullion with an anxious face, hurries with fresh supplies at rapid pace. Peach Blow his name, and no mean fame, has been achieved by little Peach Blow's race. His skin, I hardly need to give the hint, baptizes him, it has a peachy tint. He's much admired in western lands you know, and quite sought after by both high and low. With grown-up folk, he loves a joke, and just a bit of teasing, makes things go. He'd been dispatched for pepper from the shelf, then wouldn't give it up, the merry elf. He'd withdrawn it every time cook held his hand, which would try the finest temper in the land. Till with a scowl, an angry growl, his spoon commenced some execution grand. "Oh, sing a song of choppers," sang the chef. "You'll enjoy my hatchet duo, if you're deaf. My minces are so perfect, you'll allow, the king himself might treat me to a bow. A pepper breeze won't make me sneeze, an onion never brings a tear, I vow. For I take life as easy as I can, no fear have I of any mortal man. If they fail to like the hashes that I mix, I can upon a new position fix. My axes drop, chip chop, so sharp are they'd cut up stones and sticks." Ding dong, was that the dinner bell? The servants from the kitchen fly pell-mell. With soup and fish and entree, out they go, for kings won't wait a minute as you know. Alas for greed, more haste, less speed, Mike proves this to his everlasting woe. In his apron he had failed to mend the rent, his long foot caught and down of course he went. Tripped Dan, who was the nearest of the group, and nearly got them all into the soup. No use to cry, he'd lost the fry, the wisest he, yet saddest of the troop. The banquet hall is bathed in amber light, from hollow pumpkins filled with candles bright. While round the board in autumn tints arrayed, are placed the guests, a man and then a maid. In the grandstand, a lively band, of well-trained fiddlers merry music played. Bermuda Onion, like a mother mild, ties a clean bib upon her sprightly child. On one side Eggplant and the other Beet, these pompous gentlemen praise Baby Pete, who makes no noise, like some small boys, but smiles with an expression really sweet. Swift as a flash the music takes a turn, with weirder light the colored candles burn. The table seems to disappear from view, as into mystic dance these strange folk flew. While round and round, with whirring sound, each moment wilder the excitement grew. Miss Corn is the embodiment of mirth, the heavier vegetables dip toward earth. Tomato and Miss Cucumber laugh loud, the infection spreads through all the merry crowd. Faster, they cry, as round they fly, this dance is to Miss Poppy Cornflower vowed. Through her we've punished all her cruel race, hoping 'twill teach them how to keep their place. For centuries they've had us in their power, but now the slave has his triumphant hour. So dance away, this happy day, tomorrow we will meet in Poppy's bower. Swifter and swifter twine their clinging feet, a dervish dance by color made complete. Only a tinted whirlpool now they seem, the whirring sound becomes the storm wind's scream. The yellow light is blurred to sight, 'tis like the nightmare of a troubled dream. A shudder seems to ring the vibrant air, it fills the ears like wails of wild despair. A splitting crack, a crash, a deafening call, the flooring crumbles and through space they fall. Wild arms they throw, down, down they go, and total darkness quickly covers all. And then there comes a burst of dazzling light, it fills all nature with its splendor bright. It shines upon the grass, the flowers, the gate, and on a little maid who sits up straight, with staring eyes, of dazed surprise, and very much alive I'm bound to state. Part third. Was that really a dream from which I've awoke? Well, I'm sure I don't call it a bit of a joke. I was planted you know, and of course had to grow, through that cruel old red-faced tomato. Why of course 'twas that wicked hair carrot, I see, who behaved just as horrid could be. For he took me away, in the midst of my play, at least so I thought in my dream, oh. Yes, the more I think over that terrible dream, the madder I get, and so real does it seem. I'll just have to know how the frightful things grow, and whether they're really alive. Oh. Ah, there you all are, safe enough I declare, such innocent things to give me such a scare. I was sent out to pull a big basket full, and I suppose now you think I won't dare. But though I know truly you can't walk or speak, I mean you shall all have a pretty hard tweak. So come out of your bed, by the hair of your head, you shall soon be put into the soup, sir. Then Mr. Tomato, I'm going for you, an old king potato, you'll get in the stew. You'll boil and you'll fry, and be mashed by and by, since that is just what you were made for. There, now I feel better. It was a queer dream, I must run and tell mother, how true it did seem. 'Twas a real fairy tale, that would most turn you pale, perhaps she'll write it down in a book, oh. For I'm wide awake now and had best run along, but to make myself sure I'll just sing a loud song. A regular shout, all the fairies to rout, for they are well enough in their own land, oh. Bertha Upton.